Kyle Van Noy back on the books for the New England Patriots. Cut by the Dolphins. Wasn't happy about it. Lands in New England. Just the latest guy that the Patriots are rounding up as they try to improve that roster and get back on the right side of being relevant to what's happening in the NFL.
No, I mean, awesome. I mean, he's their kind of guy, certainly. You know, the Dolphins outspent the Patriots last year. They weren't willing to spend $15 million a year on Kyle Van Noy. Now they get him for something they look at more reasonable, but he's the perfect Patriot guy. You know, again, can play defense and inside linebacker, outside linebacker. You got Judon, Kyle Van Noy, Dante Hightower coming back off of the COVID opt-out, all of that. You know, it's a different defense already. We know the secondary's top-notch. It's as good as it gets in football. And now you start to look at the front seven on paper, and you start to go, damn, that's a pretty good front seven. I mean, watch out. So, great move by the Patriots, and good for Kyle Van Noy getting back with the team that he's familiar with.
This one was a stunner last night. Patrick Peterson signed by the Minnesota Vikings. Top 10 pick back in 2011. The Vikings have had issues at corner ever since, every one of their guys left last year in free agency or was cut. They went with young guys. Now they have an older presence. My understanding is the teams that were interested in Patrick Peterson want him strictly to play corner, not slide over to safety. And we don't know what's going to happen with Anthony Harris in Minnesota. He's currently a free agent, but there hasn't been any news about Anthony Harris that I've noticed. But Peterson now becomes the top corner on the depth chart just by virtue of the fact that they're struggling to develop great cornerback play in Minnesota, and we know how important that is to the defense. And I don't know what kind of gas Peterson has left in the tank 10 years in, but 1 year, it's been reported. This is one of those that you got to watch.
Right.
1 year, $10 million. I would bet, not quite $10 million, but $10, that it's up to $10 million, not $10 million when we see the final paperwork. But still, I bet it's about $6 million, and he can make $4 million on top of it if he plays really well. It's a significant investment for a guy that's been around 10 years, Chris, and it shows the Vikings are doing what they can to improve defensively.
No doubt. I mean, again, I don't ever love the PED part of Patrick Peterson's past. You know that. We've discussed that. But, everything else, he doesn't really miss games. He's not hurt a whole lot. And he loves football. There's no denying that. I mean, there's not. And not that he's a superstar lockdown corner anymore. No, he's not that type of football player. But there's still good left in his game, Mike. There definitely is. Last year we saw some pass interference issues, things like that. But I think it is a good veteran presence, a dependable guy, smart, knows that. You got a rookie corner that they drafted in the first round last year, right? So, it is a position that's very important to Zimmer's defense. And I think Patrick Peterson does help them out.
Another move that happened on Wednesday, and another 2011 first-round pick, A.J. Green, signing with the Cardinals, 1-year deal worth up to $8.5 million. And look, Chris, my first reaction when I saw this, Larry Fitzgerald's not coming back. And I know people are saying, Larry Fitzgerald would love to play with J.J. Watt and A.J. Green. Look at the depth chart. DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, A.J. Green. Where does Larry Fitzgerald fit? Is he going to be a gunner on the punt team?
Yeah.
Where does he fit? Because when you have – now, I guess some teams can get away with having 4 guys who play receiver and don't play special teams, but financially, where does he fit?
Yeah, that's right.
How can you give him the A.J. Green deal when you're paying DeAndre Hopkins top of the market and you've got these other commitments? I just think that they did the A.J. Green deal, and maybe Larry Fitzgerald did the Cardinals a favor by keeping his mouth shut about what his intentions were, because it allowed the Cardinals to go get A.J. Green and not have to worry about someone else grabbing him.
Yeah, maybe you're right. You're right. There's no doubt they could have played that. A.J. Green is a guy I'm very intrigued with. It was a down year last year. There's no doubt. He never really got the connection going with Joe Burrow or anything like that. I do still think, again, this is a tall guy with size, but, when I watch him there's still explosion in his game to where – I wouldn't be surprised if he opened eyes again a little bit in this offense where, he's going to see a lot of single coverage. But, man, you talk about Dan Arnold, the tight end who emerged last year really damn good. Hopkins, you said it, Christian Kirk in the slot and doing that stuff, and then A.J. Green outside. That's some tough matchups across the board. I think A.J. Green's still got a little something. I bet you he comes back with a little chip on his shoulder this year.
Last year was so bizarre. Now, the year before it, he suffered the ankle injury at the preseason practice in Dayton because it was the League 100th season, and he didn't play at all in that year. They franchise tagged him in 2020. He had 104 targets, but only 47 catches.
It was
he
weird.
Had an average yards per target of 5.0, by far the lowest of his career. The Bengals clearly weren't bringing him back. Typically, the Bengals, once they franchise tag you and you play out that year, you don't come back.
Right.
And $8.5 million top end. It shows you the league right now is curious about where A.J. Green is, and he is going to have to reestablish himself, and this is his chance to do it. He's been around a while. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2017, and he barely hit 1,000 yards that year. He's got some work to do to establish himself again, but it's not like he's going to be double covered. It's not like he's going to be the focal point of the defensive game planning.
No.
He's going to step into the Larry Fitzgerald role. And, Chris, what's your gut tell you? Is Fitzgerald done, or do we see him maybe exploring the possibility of jumping on a Super Bowl bandwagon? Because he said at one point last year,
I remember that.
If the Cardinals win the Super Bowl, I'll retire. And everybody was like, well, then you're not retiring. Was that his little sprinkling of the message that maybe next year I'll go join a team that I think can win a Super Bowl?
I don't think so. My gut tells me that, he's sitting back. If he comes back, I think it will still be with the Cardinals for like a really low price to where he just wants to be a part of the team. I don't know. But I really, my gut, and I have no knowledge of this situation, I do think it's done. I do. And I would expect maybe we hear something here sometime in the near future. But the A.J. Green thing's, it's intriguing. And that stat you talked about with the targets, right? That was one thing that when you go back and watch a little bit, you go, well, he was open a little bit more than I gave him credit for watching him last year. Joe Burrow it was one of those weird things where they could not connect on go routes and back shoulder type things where you go, hey, A.J. Green's open. Joe Burrow, threw it out of bounds or underthrew it a little bit. There was a lot of disconnect there, but it's interesting. And then, hey, listen, I just got to mention the other move with the Cardinals too. Them getting Rodney Hudson. Damn, that was good. I mean, we thought the Raiders were going to trade him. I mean, cut him for the Cardinals to get him. That's very important.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.